everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Paige, and today I want to tell you about the books that I read in August. This is my August reading wrap up. I have not been reading as many books this year as I have read in the past couple of years, just due to, I guess, being extra busy and mood reading and a lot of different things combined. I just am not getting the amount of books that I used to get read per month, and that's okay. So I read 13 books in the month of August, and out of those 13, I had 7 5-star books, which is pretty amazing. I had 5 4 stars and only 1 3-star. So it's very, very rare that I will rate anything lower than a 3-star without just DNFing it. But there has been an occasion here and there where I have rated 1 or 2 stars, but usually if it's just that bad, I'm just going to DNF it altogether. I had no DNFs for this month, so I think that I had a pretty good reading month. I always like to include now like the format that I read them on, so I read 12 of those 13 books from Kindle Unlimited and 1 from Audible. The very first book that I read in August is A Kiss for a Kiss by Helena Hunting. I binge read the Puck series last year, I believe. Of course, I adore that series. It's so wonderful. It is a hockey romance series. This whole group of hockey players on this team each have their own romance, and they're just like friends and teammates, and it's just, I love the series. But Helena Hunting does have a couple of spin-off series from the Puck series. The series is escaping me. I say, is it the All In or something? It's a series that is, of course, spin-off from Puck, but it revolves around the like hockey players, the teammates that come after the ones in Puck, because you know, after they like retire, these are like the new players and these are their romances. And so this is the last book in that series so far that is currently out. It is A Kiss for a Kiss by Helena Hunting, and this one revolves around the manager of the team. He manages this hockey team while Alex Waters, which is a hockey player from the Puck series, he coaches this team. We had his daughter's romance before this one. So Jake meets this girl named Hannah. She is actually one of the teammates' sisters, but she's actually his mom. It's a whole, you get the whole story in the previous book. But she, you know, they met because of Jake's daughter and her brother, actually her son, but they were raised as brother and sister, and they meet because of their, essentially their son and daughter met and got married, and this is how they met, and they hit it off instantly. They had a very, you know, like steamy type of situation. They weren't really in a relationship. They were just had a lot of chemistry and attraction for each other until, I don't know if this is a spoiler, but until something happens that brings them closer together. I'm not going to say just in case. I love this world. I love the Pucked world. I love any type of world that Helena Hunting writes, and I rated this one 5 stars. It was absolutely amazing. I really have enjoyed the spin-off series from Helena Hunting. And then going into the second book that I read is also another spin-off series from the Puck series, which I had been wanting this series, and I did not know it existed until I was like commenting on one of the booktubers live videos and saying that I wanted the kids stories from the Pucked people, the Pucked characters. I wanted like their children's stories, and they told me like, yes, it actually exists. So I was super excited. So I read the first book, and which is the only book out at that time. The second one released yesterday on September 1st. But this one is Little Lies by Helena Hunting. This follows 2 of the children from the Pucked series. Basically, we have Lavender and Kodiak. They were so close when they were children. This book really flashes, like you'll get the, you know, present point of view, and then it flashes back to show kind of what happened when they were growing up. Lavender was in, they both deal with very severe anxiety, and then Lavender had an traumatic experience at this like haunted house one time. She was actually abducted for a little while until she was found, and so she has had to recover from this, and she and Kodiak just bonded. They were already pretty close, but you know, they just really bonded close to each other, and they kind of fed off each other. She craved his, you know, his presence, his existence, and he felt like he was kind of like accomplished, or his whole purpose in life was just to be there for her. And so their parents kind of noticed that this was unhealthy behavior, and they suggested, you know, to separate them, which when they did caused a lot of problems. They, you know, kind of regretted that later in life, how abruptly they changed their lives. And now fast forward to they're both in college, and they hate each other. She hates him for leaving her. He has said some pretty awful things to her in the past, because in his mind, the only way, you know, he now believes that he is unhealthy for her, and for him to, he loves her so much and he yearns for her, but he doesn't want to bring her down, and he believes that he is doing that. And so he says some pretty awful things to her in the past, which really made her hate him and dislike him. But now they're kind of like thrown together because they live right next door to each other, and they are thrown in each other's paths quite a bit, and they both kind of have to face the reality of their, you know, decisions. And they both kind of realize that, you know, they really do miss each other, and they still love each other. And I rated this one 4 stars because that is a kind of that is part of the book that I did not like, was how much they had disliked each other because of the things he had said to her. And I feel like there was just not enough groveling to resolve that. It was kind of quickly resolved, and I needed more of him groveling, pretty much. That's basically what it boils down to. But it was still a great book. I love seeing these Puck characters' kids, and I am currently in September reading the second book that just came out, and I'm loving it as well. So I am loving having this spin-off series from the Puck series. The next book I read in August is Mercy by Debra Anastasia. This is a dark romance, and of course I love those. So this is about Becca and Nyx. Becca is a bartender, and she meets this guy there. Their bar is having like a type of like costume night. I don't remember what it's called, but they are having this costume party, and he is completely tattooed like a skeleton because he hates how he looks, because he looks exactly like his father, and his father is a horrible person. It shows, you know, what he went through growing up. His father killed his mother, and he witnessed it, and his father was very abusive until a police officer, you know, rescued him from that situation. And he grew up in a home, and his best friend is Animal, and they grew up together in this home. But before he was rescued from his dad, there was a little girl in the grocery store. They were in the grocery store. His dad was, you know, earlier that day he had just killed his mom, and the little boy Nyx is going through such a horrible time, and he knows that he is probably going to die too, until this little girl sees his dad, you know, really just not treating him well, and she comes up to him and says, you know, stop. You know, she stands up for this little boy, and Nyx never forgot her. He knew her name, and so he was kind of went overboard into stalker mode but for a good reason, because he wanted to protect her. But he knew everything about her life, and he just was kind of in the background always growing up because he was so obsessed with her. And of course, you know, in real life I wouldn't like that, but in a romance book it's absolutely amazing. The obsession he has, because he loves her that much, and he would do anything for her, and he is always kind of like a silent you know, protector that she never knew she had. But she finally does meet him at the bar, and their lives go from there. This is a very dark romance, but it was so good. I rated it 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. And I knew that the conflict would kind of come because of her finding out just how much he had known about her previously and kind of stalked her, and that did end up happening. And of course, this is just a very dark, obsessive romance, and I was totally here for it and loved it. So I immediately went to the second book in the series, which is Havoc, and this follows his friend Animal, which he grew up with in the home. And this shows him and his best friend how they grew up. She grew up homeless, and of course he grew up going from foster home to foster home, and they had a really close bond with each other until something happened and she had to leave. And now it's years later and she comes back into his life, and there's like a lot of going on. These are not mafia, but Animal and Nyx have kind of made like their own domain, and they kind of rule that area. So there is a lot of criminal activity that goes on. There's at one point one of the characters is abducted, and she is such a badass, and she goes in and just saves the day. But so this was also a very good book in the series, and I rated it 5 stars as well. And then I saw that Regine had wrote and released another book in the Prime Mating Agency series, and I adore that series. It is so good. It is my favorite monster alien romance series. It is just so good. And this one is I Married a Dragon, and I rated it 5 stars. I think I've rated every single one of the books in this series 5 stars. So this is about Cedros, I guess is his name. He is like a dragon. He has like a battle form, which is more dragon-like. And then he has his like main form. I don't know what it's called. And it's more human-like, but he's still very much, you know, dragon alien. So Kaida is dispatched because she works like with a SWAT team, and there's like this rift that has opened up and all these monsters are coming through, and so they are called there to, you know, help take care of this problem. And there she meets the dragon, and he like instantly it's a fated mates type of situation, and he instantly recognizes her as his mate, and so they're kind of destined to be together. She calms this part of him that would like would go mad, and he would die early. These dragons die early in age unless they find their mate. And now he has found her, and they are put together through the Prime Mating Agency series, and they have like a trial run, and in that trial run they have to be married and act as a married couple and really put forth a good effort to being together. And then after the trial is over, then they can decide, you know, whether they're going to stay married or not. But these are always excellent matches, because there is this alien type of bird species called the Tiernan who put together these matches, and they're very well known for having very good instincts about it. So anyway, another great installment to the Prime Mating Agency series. I absolutely adored it. So whenever I read one of Regine Abel's books in that series, I'm just like in a book hangover for more good monster romance, you know, alien romances. And so I began a new series. So this series is called The Velos of San Hodra, and this is a series that is contributed by 9 different authors, I believe it is. And the first book in the series is by Milo, and I immediately picked up this series because there are several authors that I do recognize in this series, and I thought it'd be fun to read them. So I kind of binged this series in August. I haven't quite finished it yet, but I did read quite a few of them. The first one is about, basically there is this on Earth, it's very far into the future, and they have this prison that is kind of like in a spaceship, and it's hovering above Earth. And these women who have done crimes or think they have done crimes, they put into this prison, and they are experimented on and treated very horribly. And then one day, something happens to where the spaceship just flies off into like another dimension, to another alien planet, and this is the planet that they land on, and they are trying to survive on this alien planet, and these human women just, you know, kind of try to do everything they can to survive. And so these are each of their romances. And so in the first one we have Petra. She has been experimented on pretty much to become like a super soldier, and one of the guards has fallen in love with her. They've both fallen for each other, and his name is Drogon. And once they escape from the ship after it has crash landed, they go and they are trying to survive this alien planet that is very deadly, and they happen upon some tree aliens. They're basically huge tree characters, and all I could imagine was Lord of the Rings when I was reading this book. I just imagined the walking, talking trees. But that's like their battle form, but they resemble more human-like when they go into like their main form. And it's very interesting, very, very interesting. Each of these books has like a different alien type of species, and they're all very interesting, and I rated it 4 stars. Oh, and this is a reverse harem series, by the way, so it's, you know, girl with multiple partners. The second book I read in that series is Tempest by Rhys. I had never read anything by this author, and I rated this one 5 stars. This is about Charlie. She is the sister of Petra from the first book, and she had gotten to the prison to try to rescue her sister because her sister was innocent, and she was trying to rescue, and she had been a soldier in the military on Earth, and she is trying to find her sister, and she is terrified of water, and she happens upon this this body of water, and she's trying to get something to drink, and something pulls her under, and she's just freaking out. But it's actually this type of aliens that live underwater, and they take her back to, you know, where they live underneath the water, but, you know, their home is blocked off from the water so she can breathe. And so this is her romance with them. I think this was my favorite in the series because each of the aliens, I didn't write all their names down because that would just be so confusing. But each of them in this book have such a distinct personality, and I love that. Sometimes reverse harems can kind of get confusing, or they just kind of run together because they're not distinctive and they're not set apart from each other. And that's what I really liked in this book, is that each of them with her was very distinctive, and you could tell who was who. And yeah, this has definitely been my favorite book in the series. Then I skipped the third one because it wasn't on Kindle Unlimited, and I went to the 4th book in the series. So the 4th book is Whirlwind. This book is about Aveline. She has escaped from the crashed ship as well, and she is trying to survive, and she happens upon this. This is super hard to explain, but basically she's in the sky, and the aliens that she kind of discovers are kind of made of wind, and they can like dissolve into wind, and then they form up. They can form into whatever they want to be. But each of these women help these aliens because the creators who made these aliens before, like a long time ago, had made them what they are now, but they stole their heartstones, which makes them, you know, pretty much alive. And so each of these women are like returning their heartstones to them and restoring them to who they're supposed to be. And so she helps them, she restores their heartstones, and basically this was okay. It wasn't as great as, especially coming from Tempest. It wasn't as good, but I still rated it 4 stars. And then I read Radiant, which is the 5th book in the series. This is about Yahiro. She is also another woman from the escaped ship. She is actually an undercover cop, and she had been on this mission, and it went wrong, and so this is how she ended up on the ship. And she escapes, and she is, you know, running through, she's being chased by these creatures who are trying to kill her, and she cuts her foot on this stone, and it starts to shine, and she picks it up, and it's actually the Heartstone for these. They're basically like angels. Two of them have wings, one does not, but they are the beings of light. They absorb light. That's like how they get their energy. That's how they live. They weaken when it's dark, and so they are just like beings of light, and also similar to angels. And so this is who she has her romance with, who she finds love with, and I rated it 4 stars. And then the next one that I read is Shadowed by Isabel Wroth. This one is about a girl who she is stumbling, of course, along trying to find a place to go, and she is about to be captured by these beasts on this planet, until she like climbs this stone statue that she sees, and she accidentally awakens like these stone giants, and they take her to safety. They do not have their heartstones, and she doesn't, so they cannot like transform out of their battle forms. She has to go on this mission to find their heartstones, and it's very dangerous for her because she is albino and she was experimented on, so she cannot step into the light or she burns, and she has to go pretty much into the place of light. And so this is a very dangerous mission for her, but she takes their heartstones and gives them back to each other, and pretty much makes them feel again. They could not feel any kind of emotions, and so this is her romance with the stone giants, and I rated this one 4 stars. And then I took a break from reading alien monster romances, and I picked up The Best Thing by Mariana Zapata. This was my Audible read. I had a couple of credits, and so I always spend my credits on my absolute favorite authors, and this was the last book that I had not read by Mariana Zapata yet. I don't know why I put off this book for such a long time. There's nothing that I didn't like about it. It's kind of sad though that now I've read all of Mariana Zapata's books, and I just have to wait for her to release a new one, which I think she's working on one. I saw something on Instagram the other day which made me very, very happy. But this is the last book that I completed by Mariana Zapata, and it is so good. I love her books. All of her books are just so amazing. She's just probably my most favorite author of all time. So The Best Thing is about Lenny. She is working in her grandfather's gym slash boxing like trainer. Her grandfather raised her because her dad died and her mother abandoned her, and she is now working at this gym that, you know, she was always like destined to work at someday, because she now has a baby. So she had met Jonah. He's a rugby player, and they hit it off instantly. They had this, you know, incredible time together until she went back home, and he just never contacted her anymore. He was injured, and so he kind of went into like a hiatus type of, he just got away from the world and didn't want any communication with anyone. But she found out she was pregnant, and she was trying to get a hold of him. Like, she called, texted, emailed, everything, and he would not answer her back. And so she thought that he would just abandon her and the baby, and she just wanted to talk to him. Like, she didn't expect anything from him. She just wanted him to know. And she just thought it was incredibly rude that he would just, you know, brush her, blow her off like that, especially when they had such an incredible, you know, short time together. And she thought that he really liked her, and now, you know, he just never contacted her again. until one day he shows up at the gym where she works, and she is just so mad at him for, you know, what he's done, but she still does the right thing and introduces him and tells him about their daughter that they have together. And of course he's just blown away by this. He came to reconnect with her, and you really see he explains what went on through this time. And even though it's kind of unbelievable at first, she's really really doesn't want to believe him, but we see her character step up and do what's best for their daughter, even though she doesn't have great feelings for him, or she may not, you know, see eye to eye to him. They do what's best for their daughter, and he just totally steps up. He realizes that he has this child. It takes him a minute to absorb, as it would anyone, but after he gets used to the idea, he is just totally there for her and for Lenny, and we see their romance blossom just by, they are forced to kind of spend time with each other, and their romance blossoms again. And of course, Mariana Zapata's books are very slow burn. You do not get a lot of the romance that you would typically out of other books that are just, these are just super slow burn. Not much happens, but the things that do happen are just so incredible. And I think it's even more romantic than one that's more, not insta love, but it's a faster paced romance. The slower burns to me are just so much more romantic, because moments where just the most little things mean the most. So anyway, I could talk a lot about this book and Mariana Zapata, but of course I rated it 5 stars. And then I read another book in the Velos of San Hodra series, and this was Undying by Tiffany Roberts. I really like Tiffany Roberts. I read the Spider Mate series, I think that's what it's called, by Tiffany Roberts, and they really did a good job with that series. This book did not hit the mark. I rated it 3 stars. It could possibly partially be because I had Alexa read this book to me, and I just kind of zoned out. It could have been because of the book, or it could have been because of Alexa, or both. But I was just trying to hope, you know, like, come on, just be over. I didn't really care about this book at all. Essentially, the heroine in this book, her name is Quinn, and she discovers this alien species on this planet. He is pretty much death. Whatever he touches dies, and so he feels like he cannot touch her. He does not want to touch her because, you know, he doesn't want her to die. And so they spend time together and get to know each other and fall in love with each other, until they realize that how she has been experimented on has caused her to pretty much live. She can die but come back to life. And so it works perfect in their case, in their scenario. But that's pretty much all I know about it. Didn't really absorb much of this one, and so that's why it's rated 3 stars. And then the last book that I read in August is Beth's Stable by Amanda Milo. I was looking at more alien monster romances because I was kind of tired of this same series, and after a 3-star read, I wanted to read something really good. And I realized that I had not finished up Amanda Milo's Stolen by an Alien series, and so I read the next one that I needed to read in that series, which is Beth's Stable. And now I still have one more left in the series to read. But this one is about Beth, and this is a reverse harem book. Beth was a stolen human from Earth, stolen, and because human women look a lot like this alien species that are called Griffala, who are very revered. They're known as princesses, and everybody just looks up to them and adores them, and these human women look a lot like that species. And so they're basically being sold as the Griffala to people who don't really know the difference, and pretty much scamming these aliens. And Beth is sold to this alien, and you can really Amanda Milo has a lot of humor written in her books, but this one especially is very humorous. The alien that rescues her is so funny. So funny. He is just full of humor. He's full of mischief. He gets into so much trouble because of who he is, but he is called a luck source, and so really he can't do anything that will not bring him good luck. And if somebody does ill will against him, it brings that person bad luck. And he is just infatuated with her, and he brings her on their ship and with his crew. And in their species is they basically find a mate, and they all share her because they become mate locked to her. And his crew is very much, you know, his crew immediately when they see her and sense her, they, you know that she is their mate. But he's very protective of her. He's kind of like, hey, I found her, she's mine, until he finally learns to share. And then she gets to meet more of her, the more of the crew. There are a couple that are just so sweet. There's one that's just adores her with everything he has. You know, he would do anything for her. There's one that is pretty much like a really just a grumpy giant, and he doesn't partake in any of the mischievous pranks that the other ones take part of, and he rescues her from a lot of their mischievousness. And then there's one that's very just dark and broody, and two of them are actually brothers, and they do not get along. And it's just, each of them have a very distinctive personality. Each of them are very different. This book was so fun. This romance was fun. It had a lot of humor in it, a lot of, you know, of who Amanda Milo is, and I just adored this one, and I rated it 5 stars. So those are all the 13 books that I read in August. Even though I only read 13 books, these 13, a lot of them were absolutely amazing, and I had a great reading month. So let me know what you read for August, or if you've read any of these. So I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.